Frank can see this is the wave. And Thailand's economy has rebounded through its tourism industry and exports since 2024. But the country faces pressing challenges this year. The impact of tariff war and geopolitical tensions could swiftly reverse the recovery. Joining me now is the Chairwoman of Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce, Ms. Vibeke Lyssand Leirvag, to talk about more on her insight on the economy and business environment this year. First, of course, thank you for your time, Vibeke, and Happy New Year.
Oh, thank you very much, Frank, for inviting me, and Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, and actually we have a fresh start in 2025, but we have seen some pressing challenges ahead. So what are the most pressing economic challenges for Thailand in the coming year, this year, I mean?
Well, I hope you have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to divide it in three. You look at the global, the regional, and the national challenges. If you're looking at the geopolitical situation, which continues to be a challenge, you look at tariff, trade wars. This is something that the whole world is facing, it's not only Thailand. But I think for Thailand, it's important to look at how they can strengthen areas that they're already working on. So as an example on free trade agreements, they need to continue to work on the positive effect there. The Sri Lanka Thai free trade agreement comes in force, I think now in January. The EFTA agreement, I'm from Norway myself, so I'm quite happy about that. This will be signed at the Davos now at late January. And I think the EU agreement is on good way. They're looking at maybe completing within 2 years. So these are all very positive areas, but it does require that we work on it and that we implement and we make sure that that increases trade. Thailand may in some ways have been a bit too reliant on certain countries or too few countries when it comes to trade. So I think diversifying is very important. I think another area is very positive, the Thailand signing the OECD agreement in 2024. And this is something that foreign direct investment look at as very positive. So this is an area also that they should continue, the government needs to continue the work. When you look at regional, of course, with the geopolitical situation we have, I think there's big potentials in ASEAN. So we need to make sure that Thailand is competitive, but we also need to make sure that we connect with ASEAN. This can be done through improving infrastructure even further, logistic, making sure that cross-border trade is working smooth and efficiently. And I think make sure that we create workplaces and we create a workforce that is there for the future workplace. And domestically or nationally, I think this is an area that Thailand can do a lot. They need to build the provinces and they need to build their strength. So if you look at agriculture, Thailand is very strong on agriculture. They are strong on tourism, they're strong on food and innovation. And I think it's important that they focus not only on the 5-10 biggest provinces, but really make sure that they include all of the country. So these are areas that I feel is important. When it comes to JFCCT, of course, foreign direct investment is something that we look at carefully. We have our normal wish list when it comes to the Foreign Business Act, the service liberalization, work permit and visa processes to be easier, licensing to be easier. But at the same time, JFCCT is focusing on 5 main areas. The first area is the competitiveness of the country overall. And important to remember that it's not just the government, but it's also us as investors. We need to work together with the government on this. So competitiveness, make sure that we focus on areas that needs to be strengthened, and then we work together on overcoming those. So some of the laws that we have in Thailand are quite outaged. They are not for the future industry. So a regulatory reform, which I know the government is focusing on, I think that is important. We look at digitalization where there's a single sign-on. Today we still operate too much where we operate in silos. So we need to have a single sign-on from the government, and by that, I think we can improve the GDP. If I'm not wrong, we're talking about potentially 30% improved GDP if we can manage to make a single sign-on and speed the process. Workplaces, Thailand focus a lot on the new target industries. And on the new target industries, there are also new workplaces and new knowledge that is needed. So it's very important that we look at how to reskill, upskill existing workforce, how we need to build the new skills for the new industries, and at the same time make sure that education overall build the youth and the talents for the future job and workplace. SMEs, very important that we include them. They're very important to the supply chain of Thailand. They're part of the very strong part of the economy. So we need to make sure that the SMEs can be part of a supply chain, but also, that they have access to finance, that they can embrace the changes that are needed, for example, on ESG. So this is areas, again, that I think the government can do a lot. Lately, sustainability, this is an area that is in focus a lot these days. So ESG needs to be aligned with SDG goals, which again, since Thailand now has shown that they will join OECD, I think this will walk hand in hand. But we need to be sure that we don't include only the big companies, but also the small ones. So that was a long introduction.
Long introduction,
Yeah.
But I think it's a very, very key messages there. As in, of course, Thailand right now trying to really connect with other countries in the world, no matter in international organization, FTA, as you talk about, regional cooperation or competition there. Actually, Thailand has a leadership role here in ASEAN. Thirdly, I think it's about the national or domestic development here. You talk about so many important things here. But one thing I have to push you a little bit forward is about the foreign investor views here, no matter it's the new one or existing one in Thailand. Because, of course, right now we see Thailand's government focuses on short-term policy, including a 400 baht of that, and increase of daily minimum wage, or 10,000 baht digital wallet scheme, occasional scheme, to 40 million Thai citizens here. How about the long-term policies? What does a foreign investor want to see? Because maybe a right long-term policy could really incentivize new investment coming to Thailand. What's your thought?
Well, I think when it comes to foreign investors, what is important for us is to have a clear view from the government. What is the policies that they will focus on? At the moment, this is not 100% clear, and this is something that for foreign investors it's difficult. They need to be sure that there's, if you're looking at investments at EEC, BOI, they have very clear policies. But it's not every company that will fit into the EEC or under the BOI scheme. I think Thailand has a lot of opportunities on this, but I do believe that it's important that we make sure that when we look at foreign direct investment, it's not only new investment. It's also the companies that are committed to Thailand, those that are already here, our members. I think it's very important that we make sure that incentives and benefits that are given to new investors are also available to investors that are here already. So I think what we would like to see, again, it goes very much on competitiveness of the country. It goes on ease of doing business. We need to digitalize. We need to make sure that when we invest, we do not have to wait long for a license. We need to make sure that work permit and visa process is eased. Ownership structure, the Foreign Business Act, I know that it's a little bit of a hot potato, but it is something that Thailand is competitive in many areas. And I think in order for us to bring in new innovation, bring in technology, I think we need to liberalize the service sector. We need to make sure that we attract new talents. We need to be sure that innovation comes into Thailand. And this we can do hand in hand. So again, clear policies from the government is something that we look very much forward to see. And with that, then I think also foreign investors will be able to take the next steps. I mean, Thailand is still a very attractive country to invest in. Areas that we hear of concern is, of course, energy prices. This is something that needs to be looked at. Climate and clean air is, again, areas that needs to be looked at. But overall, Thailand is an attractive country to invest in. It still keeps the central position in ASEAN, I believe.
So the strength of Thailand, because other countries, for example, Malaysia, they have long-term strategy for semiconductor and now AI. And how about our country, Thailand? What should we focus on?
So Thailand, in my opinion, needs to focus on where Thailand is strong. And one of the key areas for Thailand is, of course, exports. So if you're looking at export and you see, especially Q4 in 2024, you can see that we still have the strength in that area. Now, what could put Thailand a bit at risk is if we outprice ourselves. You know, the minimum labor of 400 baht has been discussed a lot and probably will be implemented. But I think it's something that we need to look at 400 baht, that it needs to be done in steps, especially when it comes to the SME. And it's important that when we look at the implementation and the increase of minimum labor, it's important that this is done parallel with productivity gain. So you can't only just increase salaries, but you also have to look at how can companies become more productive, how can the staff become more productive, which means we need to also invest in building the workforce. We need to work on reskill, we need to work on upskill, new skills, and we need to combine skills with innovation and technology. So Thailand needs to focus on those areas. If you look at other areas that Thailand is strong on is agriculture. And I think foreign investors, there's a lot of countries that are very strong on agriculture. They are very strong on food innovation. And again, to combine these, not necessarily only for the big provinces, but countrywide, you have to look at the strength of the different provinces, and then look at how you can combine foreign investment with the Thai.
Yeah, it's very important, I think, because I interview some business leaders and economists too. They all support this focus on agriculture sector and exports there too, and how to really drive Thailand's labor force to innovation skill set there is very important there. Another part we have to talk about is climate resilience, as we mentioned just in our talk. We've seen flooding in northern part of Thailand, southern part too last year, PM 2.5. Maybe when people wake up in the morning and they see that murky sky each morning in January in cold season. What can Thailand really solve this issue, and what's the drive for that? What's the driver for that?
So I think if you look at climate, this is a global phenomenon. This is not something isolated only to Thailand. And it's not isolated only to the government. It's also isolated to the private sector, very much so. Our actions could affect it. So what I believe is very important is that Thailand has made a commitment that they will be neutral or have zero in, 2065. And okay, that is 15 years later than other countries, but I think it's okay that if that they feel that this is the time that they should be ready, then this is what we need to work towards. In order for Thailand to continue to be competitive and to be a place for foreign direct investment, they need to take climate and they need to take clean air serious. So the steps that needs to be taken is, of course, steps on looking at how can we reduce the PM 2.5 as an example. We need to work government together with the private sector and look at how we can reduce the output. We need to look at how we can work on education so that there's an understanding why the climate actions need to be taken serious. So I think this is, again, a step by step. I think Thailand needs to follow the regional plan, but it also needs to follow, the international way of thinking.
Right. Of course, climate change or climate resilience is what the government, not just Thailand, neighboring countries and the world, that have to push forward. One question here I think is quite important too. For foreign investor or JFCCT, when you talk to your counterparts there, no matter it's climate resilience or climate policy or even the short-term policy or long-term policy that government right now push forward, are they concerned over Thailand's very sluggish movement, the government very sluggish movement to tackle this issue? Do you think so?
I think everybody's concerned about the climate at the moment. So for foreign investors, if we do not see that a clear policy is put in place, then investors will look at other countries to go to. So I think the government is aware of that, but we do wish to see a clear policy. You have the Climate Act that is, there's a draft on it. As JFCCT, what we would like to see is that the draft is aligned with the region. And I think we need to see positive steps where Thailand is moving in the right direction. JFCCT has joined Kasikorn Bank and 25 organizations in a private group where we are looking at how we can share best practices, how we can transfer know-how and practices that has been done in other countries. We don't need to start from scratch. We can learn from others and we can share from the bigger to the smaller. We should work across the sectors. Very important that we have education sector and that the government work with each single sector and the private sector together when we are looking at the climate, because they walk hand in hand. Yeah. Only government working alone is not going to work. Only private sector pushing for it is not going to work. So it needs to be across academia, civil society, government and private sector.
Yes, it's a very huge task because it's not just one side. It's kind of like cohesive collaboration from any other side, not the government, not only just the government, private sector, the community on the ground there to really streaming that knowledge from maybe big corporates, from the government side, from the community, from the government to the ground for people to understand.
But I believe we have, we get some wake-up calls. If you look at, the need to focus on climate is not something that started yesterday. If you look back at 2011, the big floods we have. If you look just a few months ago, in the north, the flood we had, and also in the south. If we don't do anything, this will continue to happen. So I think we need to join hand and we need to take those actions that are necessary in order to make improvements. It will take time. It does require commitment, but I think because of what we see this worldwide. Again, this is a global phenomenon. In the States now, I believe there's big fires. So this is something that we need to work on together. And I think this we will see positive steps. But again, a clear policy from the government is something that the private sector is waiting for.
Yes, and if we've done nothing in the future, I think it will happen more frequently, not just maybe,
Absolutely.
Not just like three.
We see it happening.
Yeah, we see it happening. So the government really has to, hand out those very clear policies, not just to people on the ground and foreign investors and, of course, business already here. Another big hot topic in the world is about tariff policy from the coming Trump administration. Of course, it targets at China, but how about Thailand? Because, of course, we have seen some impacts and implications to Thailand already. And how about the geopolitical tensions there in Middle East, but actually it would really cause the energy prices heightening up, and at the end, maybe it could convey to inflation to Thailand. What's your thought?
Well, I think we still have to wait and see. Trump is still not in office. He will be in office, and I believe everybody are waiting to see what will happen. But what I think is that we need to look at the opportunities around this. I think Thailand has opportunities. We have seen relocation of businesses come to Thailand. We need to work on our areas where we need to improve, so we work on our weakness. And we need to look at how we can handle the possible tariff changes. I think it's important for Thailand to diversify again. I think it's important that we have more diversified trade partners than we have today. And the free trade agreements that are coming in place, I think that is already a very positive sign. One of the strengths of Thailand is that it takes a neutral position. And it needs to maintain that neutral position so that Thailand feels or is a safe and good country to invest in. But I guess we need to wait and see. We all can look in the crystal ball, but I don't think we know what will happen after Trump is in office.
Yes, it will still wait and see about the messages.
Be resilient is important.
Yeah, be resilient is the point, and do not put eggs just in one basket.
Correct.
And of course, Trump right now still not succeeded to the presidential seat yet, so we still have to wait and see if the tariff policy will really get on the road. But as what you said and other economists said, this is the opportunity for Thailand to really diversify and, of course, to see if this tariff happens and maybe overcapacity from China, those products will come to Thailand, or even new supply chains will come to Thailand too. So this is the opportunity for us.
I believe there's lots of opportunities. And again, Thailand is an attractive country to invest in. And I think as long as we look at some of the reforms that are required, because I keep on repeating that, but there are some reforms that are required. There are some laws that makes it not so investor friendly. But I believe, at least through EEC and BOI, most of those are overcome. But again, to make a change and make a reform, and quick change in areas or regulations that are outaged, I think that is important.
Speedy movement to streamline all those regulations is the key. Last question, I think very quickly. Of course, we see the GDP figure already in 2024, not the confirmed one, but the projected one that Thailand might get 3% or under 3% of GDP growth in 2024, but other countries in the region have higher figure, higher data there. I think I asked this question in our last interview there, because actually this is a lacking figure for economy in the economy. What do you think about that?
Well, I believe the private sector still haven't released their final figure,
yes,
but
yes, projected one.
The projected figure is still not released from the private sector. I think the Joint Standing Committee, they will release it shortly, but it will still be a difficult year or a challenging year in 2025. Will Thailand manage to get 5%? Some believe so, but personally I think it's realistic with 3%. Yeah. And I think it's better to be realistic and have a positive surprise if it should exceed that than to be too optimistic and not meet it.
As what you said, it takes time and it takes the right strategy, speedy strategy there.
Correct.
To get reformed. Of course, to push our GDP higher than 3% to 5% or 7% for the goal to become the high-income country in the future. So thank you so much for your time today, Ms. Vibeke Lyssand Leirvag, the Chairwoman of Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce, today with us. More news to come.